My name is Chris, who is the government investigator and also the leader of today's discussion. We gather here in order to find the best ways to deal with the problem of drug use by pilots. I'd like to introduce each member of today's discussion. This is Dongcher, and he is the representative of medical personnel. And this is Jin, representative of the pilots. And this is FAA official Edward. From now on, we start to discuss how to agree on the best way to deal with drug use of pilots, as I mentioned before. Before we begin, I'll tell you about an awful plane accident. Andrew Morris, 27, had alcohol and drug before driving a small-size airplane. Had less than 6 hours of sleep when the Piper Cherokee he was flying on crashed off Hamilton Island on September 26, 2002. A New Zealand family of 4 and an American young man on his honeymoon died along with Mr. Morris. According to the reporter, we can determine whether this could be blamed on the engine trouble or pilot error, but there is a great chance drugs caused the fatal crash. Medical personnel are concerned about the increasing number of pilots who have been receiving treatments at the hospitals. They are forbidden by law from reporting a pilot's drug abuse to the FAA, that is Federal Aviation and Administration. Moreover, pilots say that they will seek treatment only if their treatments are confidential. Most doctors feel frustrated because they have to keep their patients' records secret, and also at the same time they feel more obligation to protect the public from potential accidents. Now, would you introduce yourselves first, Jin?
Hi, I'm here to represent pilots, and regarding today's issue, I don't quite understand why this is such a serious matter we have to tackle here. Later on, I'll show you some statistics of the accident rates of the 10 major US airlines, and you will find out how safe traveling by air is.
I am a representative of Federal Aviation Administration. We are concerned about public safety in air service these days. Today I attend here to enforce inspection of pilots. I'd like to suggest this sort of test.
As one of the doctors who examine pilot look to me, I come to here represent medical personnel like Edwards. I'm also concerned about public safety, but I have an obligation that I should keep patients' information a secret. Therefore, I hope to get a solution through our discussion.
All right, nice to meet you, everyone. According to statistics, about 30% of pilots are taking drugs. Jin, are there many companions or taking drugs around you?
Well, I know some pilots on drugs, but I'm not quite sure how many of the pilots take drugs when they go flying. This is just my personal opinion, my personal idea, but I think there are not many pilots who take drugs because they are very professional. You know, even one trivial mistake before or during a flight may lead to a disastrous and terrible accident, and that's why we pilots always try to do our best to nip all the possibilities of causing accidents in the bird. So I think I don't think many pilots want to take a risk with their and the passengers' lives by taking drugs.
I see. I wonder why they are taking those things.
Well, I think long flights and irregular working shifts are the main culprit for pilots' drug use. Unlike other types of public transportation which travels only in the same area or country, many times planes have to cross different countries and travel over several time zones, and that's why many pilots have jet lag. They are very because of the jet lag. They are very tired. If you have experienced some jet lag, some side effects of jet lag, you must know how tiring and bothersome it is. But your jet lag is only temporary. But pilots' jet lag is almost chronic. Because their job is flying and traveling from countries to countries with different time zones. They do it years until they retire. So they are physically and psychologically very tired. So I think they take drugs to keep them awake and do their jobs properly, although they are very tired.
Well, I think it's very serious problem. I know pilots may feel tired of a long distance service, so they sometimes have some drugs to overcome their fatigue. But it cannot be justified because of passenger safety. It's obvious that our body is affected by taking drugs. Some drugs bring about serious problems to control our bodies. It is positively necessary to follow doctor's instruction before using drugs. However, the drug abuse of some pilots is our reality of air service. It's a matter of grave concern.
Well, Dongchul, what kinds of effect do our body get when we take these drugs? Especially to pilots, would you give us some explanation?
Okay, most pilots who use drugs usually take stimulants. As the name suggests, stimulants are a class of drugs that enhance brain activity. They cause an increase in alternate attention and energy that is accompanied by elevated blood pressure and increased heart rate and respiration. Stimulants increase the amount of chemicals such as norepinephrine and dopamine in brain. This in turn increases blood pressure and heart rate, constricts blood vessels, increases blood glucose, and open up the pathways of the respiratory system. In addition, the increase in dopamine is associated with a sense of euphoria that can accompany the use of these drugs. Therefore, stimulants were used historically to treat asthma and other respiratory problems, obesity, neurological disorders, and a variety of other ailments. Now, stimulants are prescribed for the treatment of a few health conditions, including narcolepsy and attention deficit hyperactivity disorder and depression that has not responded to other treatment. Stimulants may be used as appetite substrate for short-term treatment of obesity, and they also may be used for patients with asthma. But as their potential for abuse and addiction became apparent, the medical use of stimulants need to be careful. Now many pilots suffer from attention deficiency and depression and symptoms during the flight caused by the physical and mental fatigue, so that some of them cannot help taking them.
That's very surprising. So you mean the stimulants which increase the amount of chemicals in brain are used for patients who need to enhance their brain activity and make themselves energetic, right? For that reason, exhausted pilots use. So back to you, Edward. I want to ask you if you have any authority to inspect whether they take drugs.
No, we don't have any authority to inspect whether they take drugs or not.
So you mean you don't have any specifications?
No, we don't have any specification. I am really complaining about such a thing. I think we must inspect taking drugs because of it is very dangerous to drive crafts. We are responsible for people's safety, so government have to make a law letting us inspect additional specification of drugs.
I must disagree. As long as you don't offer any hard evidence or clear reasons why drug testing is necessary, you are going to face pilots' very fierce and serious opposition. And you keep saying the danger of drug flying. It sounds like pilots on drugs are the main cause of airplane accidents. However, how often do you think a plane accident takes place. Everybody knows it's very rare. And let me show you some statistics. According to FAA's research, which was carried out in 2000, the average accident rate of 10 major airlines is far lower than 1%. As you see, even American Airlines, the average accident rate of American Airlines, which ranks the bottom, the last one, 10th, its average accident rate is only 0.53. And moreover,
You can stand up.
okay, moreover, according to the NTSB, which stands for the National Transportation Safety Board, they stated that your chances of being killed in a car accident is only 1 in 5,000. But if you decide to travel by train, your odds of dying due to a train crash is only 1 in 400,000. But what about airplanes? If you travel by airplane, your chances of being killed in an airplane accident is reduced to actually from 1 in 400,000 to 1 in 10 million. So see? So all this evidence supports the excellent safety of traveling by air. So I don't quite understand why you link pilots' drone use to a plane accident. I don't think it makes sense.
Calm down, Jin. but still, I'm afraid that it's a little bit dangerous to drive after taking drugs. And don't you, do physicians and nurses know that pilots are taking drugs?
Yes, because we did a routine health check of pilots, we knew whether they took drugs or not.
Then why don't you report pilots' drug abuse to FAA even though you know everything? If you provide them with the information, definitely they will be happy about that.
Actually, there is no regulation that I have to report to the FAA related with the pilot's drug test. In fact, without any legal ground, doctors cannot handle the patient information to others. If we do, setting aside legal matters, that is against oath of Hippocrates, which we should follow as a doctor. Observe the content of which it is as following. Whatever in connection with my professional practice or not in connection with it, I see or hear in the light of man which ought not to be spoken of abroad, I will not divulge as reckoning that all such should be kept secret. Therefore, I cannot do things which is against my conscience.
Yes, I think you're right. Just as anybody else's privacy, pilots' privacy should be respected as well. And of course, public safety is very important. And I know many people are worried about the safety of traveling by airplane. And that's why they want to have pilots go through drug testing. However, there are more factors which bring about plane accidents, such as poor maintenance of planes and severe competitions among airlines, which intensifies labor intensity of pilots. So with the intensified labor intensity and, as I mentioned, jet lag, these factors can tire and exhaust pilots. So I don't quite understand why only pilots drug use. We have to consider all these different factors.
I think your argument makes an error. We don't have any reports about air crashes in relation to drugs. However, we have lots of car accidents in connection with drugs. I think cars and planes are the same as a machine to operate by man. So we have a firm belief that pilot taking drugs may cause an accident. Is it right to throw public security into danger because of your privacy? I don't think so. In the public society, public right may be limited for the public benefit.
Well, there are several significant differences between cars and airplanes. For example, an airplane can be operated by an automatic pilot, which is a device in an airplane that keeps it on a fixed course without a pilot's control. On the other hand, driving car is only under the control of a driver, so that's a big difference. So I think comparing airplanes to cars is not fit in this situation. And yes, I think even if some pilots are on drugs, they have done their jobs successfully so far. So what's the problem? And I think it could be better for them to fly with themselves on drugs than to fly with themselves completely tired and burnt out.
Supporting Jin's opinion, I believe that at present, the drug which most pilot take give them just anti-hypnotic effects. Certainly, those drugs are different from cocaine or heroin. I do not think that taking them will cause serious problems.
So many opinions. Okay, so far, doctors think pilots aren't taking heavy drugs and we don't have to worry so much about their drug use. And from the part of pilots, they think they don't understand why their privacy should be invaded by FAA, right? And unless FAA wants to make sure and check the public is safe when they get on the plane. Okay, now let's talk about the solution for this problem. Edward, how can you solve this problem?
We don't have any regulation now, so we need to set a new standard. First of all, we have to select drug specification to inspect. We don't have to inspect all the drugs. So I suggest some drugs affecting driving crabs. They are cocaine, heroin, ecstasy, codeine, Oxycontin, Ribard, Lumina, and morphine. These kind of materials are effective to awaken people, but they make people to become faint of sight and feel sick. Especially, deficiency of attention and concentration may cause serious problems during the flight service. Actually, these drugs are banned by using people without permission, and we regularly check employees in the public office. I think pilots are also public officials to be in charge of people's rights and interests. Therefore, government make a regulation to control pilots' drug use.
Okay, Jin, what do you think?
Well, first of all, in order to make sure aviators fly safely, it is necessary that medical checkups should be provided for pilots more often. That way, their physical and psychological conditions can be examined very thoroughly and carefully. So if a pilot is not good enough to fly, he shouldn't fly. And second, there must be a regulation that prohibits pilots from flying beyond a certain amount of time, which means pilots should be given enough time to rest. And yes, otherwise, pilots are never going to stop depending on their drug use, no matter how hard the government and FAA try to regulate pilots' drug use.
As a member of the government, I think we need to control the use of drugs to some extent because we take more care about safety for public than the privacy of pilots. And don't you, I guess it's very hard for you to make a solution about this problem because you have to consider both sides, the privacy of pilots and the safety for public at the same time. But would you give us some comment?
Probably, I agree with Edward's opinion because I believe that not only personal privacy and doctors' conscience, but also public safety is important. However, I oppose to the requirement of opening the information to FAA without any legal ground. If it is regularized by our government, we'll take that into consideration.
Okay, to sum up, firstly, FAA wants to select some drug items and make regulations which will find out who did it. And pilots, to make sure fly safely, you want some regular health checkups and enough time to rest. And doctors are willing to provide information about pilots with legalized approval of government, right? And now let's make a compromise. Jin, give us your final comment.
To reach an agreement, I know each party should give a little and take a little. So I will concede part of FAA's points. However, as I mentioned already, the improvement of pilots' working conditions is the key to the guarantee of public safety, and not only FAA but also the government should make financial and legal contributions to the enhancement of pilots' working conditions. If these requests are accepted, the pilots will consider taking a random drug testing.
We will review it under our budget, and I'll try my best to improve your working condition.
Thank you.
And Edward?
I understand pilots' heavy burden now, and I adopt that there may be encroachment upon personal rights. So I'd like to reduce drug specification to inspect to serious materials only.
Okay, exactly what kinds of drugs pilot use, don't you?
For example, Benzedrine. In case of Benzedrine, it was used first in World War II, abolishing the pilot's sleepiness. Most pilots took those kinds of stimulant drugs. However, 1 or 2% of pilots abused heavy drugs such as cocaine or pillowphone. For the safety of passengers, such pilots should be found out. So, however, we should take the privacy and human rights of the pilots. We should take the privacy and human rights of the pilot into consideration. Therefore, I believe that instead of checking all pilots through random check, we should try to find the heavy drug users.
So random check of pilots to catch some heavy drug users and making better conditions for pilots can be the best solution at the current situation. Of course, we should give legal permissions to doctors to make them report to FAA without any burden. Do you think this is the best way of dealing this problem?
Yes.
Okay. So finally we decided, and that's today's discussion. Thank you for attending, and I appreciate you listening to our discussion.